Hi there, from Santa Barbara. While the sun may be shining here on the beautiful California coast, the subject matter of the video essay you are about to watch is far too horrific and terrifying for weather this fantastic. To get the right mood and to set the scene for exactly what I want to talk about today, I think we're going to need a change of scenery. Ah, that's a little better. But that begs the question, what subject matter could be so terrifying, so horribly dreadful, that I have no choice but to retreat to my childhood bedroom to talk about it, the gloomy, disgusting crevices and depths where I grew up? Video games.
We're clear. Copy. On the ridge.
Hey, it's Jack, and what I'm playing here is the new Call of Duty game, Modern Warfare. Call of Duty is one of the most popular video game franchises of all time, and to this day the franchise has grossed over $15 billion. This game alone made $600 million in its first 3 days. So needless to say, these games are hugely popular. And it isn't hard to see why. A game where players get to run around with huge badass looking machine guns and kill people, who wouldn't want to play? So much the appeal of these games, and other first-person shooters like them, revolves around the guns. Just look at this ad for the 2019 title, Borderlands 3. Guns are an inextricable aspect of American pop culture, and as we see the number of shootings rise and the public awareness toward gun control start to come into focus, American culture in general, and not in such a positive way. When you remove the gun from the perspective of media, it becomes a doubtlessly terrifying thing. A handheld object cast in a cold, unfeeling metal that has the potential to end lives with nothing more than the simple pull of a trigger. So that got me thinking. If guns are so scary, then why don't we see them more often in horror movies? And don't get me wrong, there isn't a total void where guns are concerned. We have movies like the Resident Evil series, Underworld, and a whole slew of zombie films. The problem here, though, is that they aren't exactly good. Let's look at the best American horror films that have come out in the past decade. Films like Hereditary, Cabin in the Woods, The Witch, and Get Out. While guns do pop up sporadically in films like these, it's rare that they serve as a primary focal plot device, and they never take the form of the large, powerful assault weapons like we see in Call of Duty. Which takes us to a bit of an oddity in the horror film canon. Jaime Marquez's 2011 film, The Squad. For a critically panned Colombian import, The Squad is a film that has a surprisingly substantial message about guns, the military, and the culture around them. The basic premise is simple. A squad of anti-guerrilla soldiers stage an assault on a base they believe to be possessed by the enemy, only to be killed off by none other than themselves. Assault weapons play a critical role in the film. Like in the United States, these weapons signify a bloody and horrific history in Colombia. Colombia is to this day marred by a brutal war between the government and guerrilla rebel forces. While FARC, the revolutionary group in Colombia, claimed to cease armed activity in 2017, when The Squad was released in 2011, the two groups were still engaged in active warfare across the country. The Colombian government, along with various right-wing paramilitary groups, most notably the AUC, have been combating revolutionary groups for decades. And while many of the paramilitary groups are in the process of being dismantled and demobilized, the conflict still seems far from over. And, as highlighted in The Squad, many civilians get caught in the crossfire. And, unlike in the way that conflicts are so often portrayed in horror movies, there is no good or evil. Both sides commit crimes, both sides perpetuate violence, and both sides have taken many, many innocent lives. And the guns in The Squad are everything. They're literally bound to the characters, strapped to their bodies and gripped tightly in their hands. When the guns are in frame, they manifest themselves almost as physical deformities, mutating the characters into grotesque metallic monsters. Almost all of the on-screen violence, too, purposeful or accidental on behalf of the characters, is perpetrated by guns, and the film is effective in this representation of how simple and easy it is to take a life with little to no effort at all. Let's return here to Call of Duty, where treatment of these weapons falls on the polar opposite end of the scale. We see guns trivialized and cheapened. Through infinite, instantaneous respawns, the gravity behind these bullets is stripped away to the point where the bloody deaths seen on screen have lost nearly all intention or weight. While one of these titles treats guns as a savage end-all means of ending lives, and the other cheapens their impact to the point of nothing, what ties them together is the constancy. Assault weapons make up the fabric of their constructed worlds, just as they have permeated our cultural collective consciousness to the point of no escape. Amidst the bloodshed and death that is shown on screen in The Squad, it's important to keep in mind the central conceit of the film. The first mission in the story-based campaign in Modern Warfare is the aptly titled Fog of War. Just as the characters in both this mission and the Squad's mountainous fort are shrouded in a deceitful and ambiguous fog, so are the decisions they make on the battlefield difficult, scary, and often very ambiguous. When powerful assault weapons enter the picture, they give soldiers the power to cut through that fog, and that brutal simplicity can be an antagonist toward the thrill and suspense of horror. So why don't we see assault weapons in horror movies? Perhaps it's because they offer too easy of a way out. The sheer power behind 600 rounds per minute at 715 meters per second is almost godly, and the clean-cut purity of the death these weapons bring is antithetical to the gruesome fantasies we see in critically acclaimed horror movies. Death, in real life, can be instantaneous and unexpected, like a farmer gunned down in a small village for doing nothing more than being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Horror movies don't have the liberty that video games take, the ability to take away all consequence of death, because it is that very threat that is part of what makes them scary in the first place. Assault weapons, in reality, are terrifying, but it's the wrong kind of fear. They strip away the ambiguity, the fog of war, and leave behind nothing but death. And when audiences buy a ticket to see a scary movie, that quick, brutal, unambiguous inevitability isn't the kind of fear they have in mind. Thanks for watching.